This is a good moment because it's the Mark Teixeira Report, and it's brought to you by Prestige Motors on Route 17 in Paramus, your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers, and PC Richard and Son. It's the all-star break version of Mark Teixeira. It's Don LaGreca and Peter Rosenberg. How are you, man?
I'm great, Don and Peter. How you guys doing?
Great, and I have an important question out of the gate, Mark. Don and I have been fighting relentlessly like cats and dogs about McGregor-Mayweather. Are you interested or not?
I am not interested at all. I really don't watch boxing or UFC. I'm sorry. You know what? If something really cool happens, I'll watch the. Kind of where I'm going with this one.
Love it. Wow. Were you never into boxing, or just you've lost it over the last decade?
When I was a kid, I liked watching Mike Tyson just because he's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime type athlete. But, I mean, listen, you know, once Evander Holyfield kind of went away, I mean, who's been that heavyweight that keeps people interested? And
you're like you're like the quintessential American casual fan who's kind of fallen off because of that.
Exactly. You know what else? Let's be honest, Rocky has ruined boxing for
That's right.
entire. Like, you expect to see Drago and Rocky, or you know Clubber Lang and Rocky just beat each other up for 2 hours, and you're just not getting that with real boxing matches.
No, it's unfortunate. And ever since Apollo Creed died in the middle of the ring, it's been tough.
That was unfortunate, no doubt.
Yeah, I really don't think boxing ever recovered from Rocky V.
You should appreciate, though, Don. Rocky V was tough. Tommy Gunn only fights in the ring. However, you should appreciate, Don, that the other day at the press conference, when one of them was yelling at the other one, they said, I think it was Floyd, and he said, "Remember." He pointed at, I think it was maybe Floyd pointing at Dana White. I could be getting it backwards. And was like, "Remember, Rocky's manager died."
Oh, that's nuts.
I was like, that's awesome.
Oh, that's crazy. And Jimmy Kimmel last night had, who's the assistant on Jimmy Kimmel? Anyway, had the guy go to and ask questions to Mayweather and to Conor McGregor. Who would win Guillermo, who would win in a fight, you or Rocky III? Which is a ridiculous question. But both of them then would think for a second and realize that's the Clubber Lang. Both knew how to answer the question. It's just that's how ingrained, I guess, Rocky is in our psyche. Mark, I wanted to go back to a couple of days ago. Rob Manfred talked about potentially Aaron Judge being the face of baseball. And we could talk whether that's possible or not, but does that put undue pressure when the commissioner of a sport talks about how a young kid that's been in baseball for just a handful of months could potentially be the face of Major League Baseball?
It does a little bit, but I'm going to give Aaron a lot of credit. I spent some time with him at the Home Run Derby, and then a little bit before the game on Tuesday, and king out all of that stuff. He's taking a page from Jeter's book. He is trying to focus on his job with the Yankees. Playing right and hitting home runs, driving in runs. I read an article Darren Ravel was talking about. He's not taking a lot of endorsement deals right now. He's not going out there and doing all the talk shows and all that kind of stuff. That's exactly what Aaron needs to be doing, because he's got a chance to be a great player, and then all that other stuff will take care of itself. He has no control over whether people think he's the face of baseball, so he's not going to worry about it.
Now, also, a postscript to that, are you upset if you're Mike Trout? Are you upset if you're Bryce Harper, hearing the commissioner of baseball talking about that this guy could be the face of baseball when you've been in the league killing it for the last 5 years? You're the same age, if not younger, than Judge. Do you feel maybe a little slighted or disrespected? Or do you feel like, because I'm an Angel and a National, I can't be the face of baseball?
Yeah, you do feel a little bit slighted, but listen, these guys are so talented. They're so young still. They have an entire career to see, and neither of them have won a championship. And I know we can have debates all day long over, do you have to win to be at that level? I think you do, because if Derek Jeter played on teams in New York that never won a championship, he wouldn't be Derek Jeter. Let's be honest. So I think the winning of a championship for Trout or Harper, will put them into that category of, Now I'm on my own here. Now everyone else is chasing me. But right now I think baseball's trying to figure out who is that guy who is on that championship team, who's an MVP caliber player every single year that can be the face.
What did you enjoy most from the All-Star festivities? Home run derby game. What do you think really stood out?
Calling the home run derby on ESPN was one of the coolest experiences of my life. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I've been to a couple of those home run derbies. You know, you watch them on TV. I was in one of them in '05. The excitement in that building, I don't know if it was because, you know, Judge versus Stanton and, you know, it was indoors. So the kind of had that, it was more like a basketball arena than a baseball stadium. There was something about the energy in the building that was second to none. And, you know, I did a 2.5-hour show for ESPN, you know, calling the home run derby, and I was exhausted. I felt like I played an extra inning game. That's how fun it was.
We're talking to Mark Teixeira's weekly spot here on the Michael Kay Show. Earlier today, the Cubs pulled off a deal. Jose Quintana goes from the White Sox to the Cubs, and a lot of Yankee fans are like, wait a minute, well, we need a starting pitcher. Why are we laying back? Do you think that was a pitcher that the Yankees should have tried to make a move on?
I mean, listen, if you could get him for a good deal, then yes. But I don't think Brian Cashman it wouldn't have been smart for Cash to go out and make all the moves he made last July and get all these prospects just to flip them for Jose Quintana on a team this year that not a lot of people think the Yankees can win a World Series. Now, the team themselves do. That's what they're playing for every day. But you know, I was in Miami for a couple of days talking to all the different, you know, reporters and different coaches and stuff, and just asking, you know, who are the teams, who needs to make moves. No one thinks the Yankees are going to go out and make major moves. Now, they might, but I'd never heard, oh, yeah, Cash is about to go trade for a number one starter and a first baseman and a third baseman and this and that. I never heard that. So unless he's got some tricks up his sleeve, I think the Yankees are going to spend the next 3 weeks really figuring out who they are, getting healthy, and then at the very end, you know, July 29th, some good deals out there. Cash will overpay for Quintana 2 or 3 weeks before the deadline.
Yeah, because one of the prospects the Cubs gave up is one of the 5th best prospects in all of baseball. You know, he would have cost you a pretty penny. And listen, no disrespect, he's been on a bad team, but he's not Clayton Kershaw. He's not Madison Bumgarner. He's a nice starting pitcher. But if I take Montgomery out of the rotation or CeCe out of the rotation to put Quintana in there, I don't know how many more wins I'm going to get.
You're exactly right. And that's the issue with the Yankees this year. It's like they tease you, Justin. I think that this road trip, it's a 10 or 11 game road trip. You're going to Minnesota, Seattle, and win 6 or 7 games and prove to the front office, hey, we're back, we're healthy, we have a chance to go do some things. They might make a move or two. But, you know, right now, to your point, who do you take out of the rotation? I mean, every one of those pitchers this year has shown signs of brilliance. And by straight numbers, it would be Tanaka. No chance they're taking Tanaka out of the rotation right now. So we'll see how things play out.
We got a text message from Dan from Coram, New York. Do you think the league would ever benefit from the DH being in the National League as well?
I think eventually we'll get there. You know, I'm not saying it's going to be anytime soon, but I think eventually, you know, pitching has become so specialized these days where when I grew up, if you were a top-flight center fielder or top-flight shortstop, you also pitched, and vice versa. If you were a great pitcher or you were a great athlete, you were going to play a little first base or play a little outfield and still hit. Nowadays, you have 12-year-old kids that are becoming pitchers full-time. They're going to get to more the big leagues and never picked up a bat in their life. I mean, it's starting to get a little silly watching some of these guys hit, and eventually you'll have guys getting hurt, whether it's on the bases or swinging bats. And I think baseball will all get together and say, listen, we have to figure this thing out and protect our pitchers, protect the integrity of the game, because if every pitcher just becomes a complete out and it's not fun to watch them hit anymore, it's time to bring in the DH.
We were talking earlier about the possibility of Tim Tebow ending up on the 40-man roster for the Mets by September. Obviously, he's an amazing athlete, but, you know, we know the reason he would end up there would likely not be because he's a viable contributor. How would you feel about him joining the team? Would it offend you as a player who worked so hard to get there, if he got there? Or do you think it would be cool?
As much as I am rooting for Tim Tebow, not this year. That would actually be very offensive as a fringe major leaguer, as a guy that, if you're a guy who's fighting his whole career to get on the 40-man and a spot goes to Tim Tebow because it's a PR stunt, that's not cool. So I don't think that's going to happen. In a couple years, Tim Tebow gets up to AA, AAA, and shows a little promise, and they want to see what he can do at the big league level. Sure, but the guy's an A-ball, and he's struggling a little bit. So let's wait a little while for that.
Mark, in closing here, it seems like it's not a question of if but when we're going to have an electronic strike zone. And we talked to Joel Sherman today, talked to Buster Olney earlier in the week, and it's gained enough traction where it looks like this thing's going to happen. How do you feel about that?
I like it. We've kind of gone that way in most other sports. I mean, tennis has gone that way. Mm-hmm. We have technology, blow your mind how close we can get to getting things perfect. And baseball's a game where, a few inches on one side of the plate or the other, or a few inches up and down, it does matter. So eventually we'll get there, and I think it'll be some sort of hybrid. I think the home plate umpire will still be a part of the game, and they'll just allow him to use that technology to call balls and strikes.
Now, I'm excited, Mark, because not for the fact that you will not be on next Thursday in your usual spot, but for the reason you will not be on your usual spot Thursdays. You're going to be hosting with me next Friday. Are you looking forward to that?
How much fun is that going to be? We might kick Michael out just for good after that show.
Well, we played what you said last week, and he was none too happy.
He knows I love him, so. We're gonna have a good time next week and dive into a lot of different things, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it because we've gotten to know each other a little bit, and I know you kind of, maybe boxing wasn't your cup of tea, but certainly you're into the other sports, and I know you know a little bit about everything, and you bring that professional athlete kind of mentality to it, so I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, so we will talk to you next Friday.
Always a blast, guys. Looking forward to next week.
Later, Tex. Thanks a lot, man.